Alright, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm in a little bit of a different setup. I decided to change it up for the new year and because I'm a little bit tired of filming by my bed. So today what I'm going to be filming is a very highly requested video. It's like one of my only really highly requested videos. In general, my experience with consulting / what is consulting and how I got into consulting video. I've tried to film this video like 3 times, but each time I just get so lost in thought. So I decided that for this video I'm going to keep it as concise as possible and just touch upon a lot of high-level points, so that way if anybody takes an interest to a specific area, I can make another video that goes into detail about those specific areas. So I also have some notes on my phone so that way I just avoid rambling altogether. Okay, so to start, I've been working at my company for about a year and a couple of months. I started back in October 2018 and I work for a tech firm, but I'm in the consulting branch of the technology firm. And I won't be mentioning the name of my company today because, or really ever I don't think, just because they're not associated with this video or my channel. Before filming this video, I tried looking up a bunch of different videos like this just to get some ideas because I've literally had the hardest time trying to film this video. And a lot of the videos that came up were specific to audit consulting and Big 4 consulting. And I'll be completely honest with you guys, even after skimming those videos, I just give you a high level of what it means to be that type of consultant and to work in that type of role. The type of work that I do is far more implementation based, which means that you're actually implementing technology, or strategy based, so we're showing the client how to implement this technology or how to use this technology that they're now implementing into their company. So that's a lot of the work that I do, but my company is so broad and covers so many different types of industries and has so many different types of specialties that like from person to person it varies so much, I guess, what each person's experience is like in my firm. So hopefully if you guys are familiar with those videos and you're here now, I can provide you with a little bit of a different perspective, or a very different perspective to what a career in consulting may look like and what consulting can mean from industry to industry and from firm to firm. The general gist of consulting is that one company will hire a consulting firm like the one that I work for, or just a big company that has a consulting division. They will hire the firm to help them improve, fix, or even build a new solution to an area of their business that they need help with. So once a consulting firm gets the work and, you know, signs a new client, etc., they will then go in and find individual consultants like myself. We are also called resources, so if I use that word, it's just interchangeable with consultant. They'll find their consultants or resources and staff them on a project based on their skill sets and the client's budget, location, etc. So that's how different projects work, and as a consultant, the type of work that you'll be doing is dependent upon the type of work that your company wins and the type of work that your company signs and that your firm acquires, I guess. So that's something that I didn't realize coming into this job, and I understand that that's somewhat self-explanatory, but for me, I was just like, oh, like, you know, I could do anything as a consultant and on different projects, and because there's so many projects, I'll just be able to find something that I'm interested in. And the way that my firm works is not necessarily that fluid. It's a little bit more restricted just based upon, you know, your commitment to a different project or the type of work that's available or the level of skill sets that they need. So that was something that I didn't quite realize coming into this project. I'm sure at different firms it might work differently, but at mine and at some other companies that I know of, there's a little bit more red tape than that. It's not as easy to just pick and choose the type of work that you want to do, which was disappointing for me, but it's understandable. And honestly, it also is kind of cool because it definitely pushed me to learn skill sets and areas and concepts and industries that I never really had an interest in, or that I never thought that I would learn, but ended up really loving. And so now I have a ton of different skills that I hadn't really intended to learn, but it just kind of happened that way. So since I started working at my company in October 2018, I've had 2 long-term projects that were full-time that I worked on for about 7 months each. And in between those 2 projects, I worked on a couple of business development efforts, which were just sort of like short-term projects, I guess you could say. But they're very intense. They're called like RFPs, or bid and proposal work, and basically you're helping higher level consultants or partners sometimes try and win more work for the company. So it's a lot of PowerPoint presentations, very aggressive deadlines and whatnot. So I worked on a couple of those in between my 2 projects, and then now I am on my second and current project. So my first project was an internal engagement. An internal project pretty much means that you're doing consulting for your own company. So what I did on that project was was aligned with system redesign, and we were redesigning one of our internal applications, systems and processes that most of our higher level partners use in order to acquire new clients. So a lot of my role on that one was system design, user experience design, and I actually really loved it. It was based in New York, so I wasn't traveling, so I didn't have that typical consulting lifestyle that I do right now. I was commuting every day because I live in New Jersey. It honestly didn't even really feel like consulting, which is a good thing, by the way. Like, I still got the benefit of like doing a cool project without really long hours because the hours are pretty stable, and I wasn't traveling on a weekly basis. It was challenging for sure, but it wasn't as stressful, I guess. But for that project, even though I wasn't traveling, I did get to go and travel for design thinking sessions and for workshops. So I was able to go to Dublin, Ireland, and London. So that was just one of the most incredible experiences. Even though I do know a decent number of people who have traveled internationally for work at my level, so as an entry-level consultant, it's not very often, at least for my firm, that we are traveling internationally for work. So that was really, really cool. Honestly, one of the best experiences ever, and it kind of just made me really excited for, you know, potentially traveling on my next project and whatnot. So on my second and current project, this is a client-facing project. So this is a traditional consulting project where a company hired my company to help them to help them implement a new technology in the energy and utilities industry. This project is so different from my other project. It's not really design focused at all, which is a little bit disappointing to me, but I still am learning so many new skills and have learned a ton of new skills that I didn't receive on my previous project. So in my current role on this project, I am the project management analyst. There's so many different words for pretty much I do project management. And on this project, there's actually several other consulting firms, and we are all working to help our client implement and go live with this new technology that they're implementing for their customers. So that's what I'm doing currently, and it's far more technical. And to be completely honest with you all, it was very challenging for me at first, not only trying to understand the position and all the different terms. I'm not one who is familiar with energy and utilities at all, so this was definitely a new space for me. But at this point, now that I'm actually understanding how the project works and understanding different terms and my job better as a whole, it's honestly super rewarding to sort of overcome that obstacle of just completely being so lost on the position and in like the terminology and everything. So that's been cool. So not only was the project itself a little bit challenging, but the travel on a weekly basis was far more challenging and far more difficult for me than I had expected. It's definitely cool in theory and on paper, and even now, like, there's definitely times throughout the week where I'm like, this is awesome, you know, like I'm getting all these points, I'm getting all these rewards, like miles and stuff, but at the same time, I feel very disoriented a lot of the times just because living out of a suitcase isn't really the easiest thing. I feel like I've learned a ton in the traveling space and understanding how to, you know, take the most efficient shortcuts throughout the airport, how to get the best experience at any hotel, but it's definitely been more challenging and far less glamorous than I had expected, but I'm so grateful for this experience because it's been really cool. So I started this in July, and I've been traveling on a weekly basis since July, so 4 days a week. I leave Monday morning and I come back Thursday night. And I do have a couple of vlogs on my channel where I show you guys what a work week in my life as a traveling consulting is like, but it is definitely tough, and I don't know if I portray that on camera. I don't think I do, just because filming is something that brings me a lot of joy. So I feel like when I am filming, I'm just in a better mood automatically, but I don't really show like the challenges of it. So that is something that hopefully that maybe I'll show more of and be more transparent about in the future. I just need some water, I'm dying. Anyway, back to where were we? So as I was saying, it is a little bit more difficult, or a lot more difficult than I had thought it would be originally, to travel for work, especially on a weekly basis. But there's definitely things that I've grown to really love about the traveling lifestyle. I can create a whole video on that if you guys want, because I don't really want this video to be specifically about traveling, but that's definitely can be a huge part of the consulting job. On to now what a day-to-day is like as a consultant. So pretty much a day-to-day is really never the same when you're in this job. On this project that I'm on currently, I'd say that my week to week is a little bit more similar, but my day to day is definitely very different. Each week I have a couple of different work products that I have to submit to the client, and so each day is focused on a different deliverable, and it's also focused on different just random things that happen on the project that I have to oversee and help manage. It varies so drastically based on what's going smoothly, what just went wrong. You know, like there's so many different things that contribute to what the day-to-day looks like, and I'd say that hours definitely vary as well. Hours are also super different based on the project that you're on, based on how strict your client is, and just based on how much work that you have. It also can definitely vary if you're on site versus meaning that you're working at the client's office, or whether you're remote. The hours that I'm currently required to be on site in the client's office are 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. A lot of times I get in way earlier than that, but I typically like to leave by the latest at 6:30 p.m. just because I focus so much better in the morning, and I love getting there before others because it's just so quiet and it's just so nice, and I can like start my day off on my own terms, as opposed to when I'm there right when everyone else is. It's like a million things are just thrown at you and you're like, oh my god, you know, you can't really give yourself any time to like warm up to the day. So that is my personal preference, but I know a lot of people who get there right at 8 o'clock and they'll stay a little bit later, and then a lot of times in addition to that I'll bring home work. So especially when I was starting this job, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, or it just took me a lot longer to do the tasks that don't really take me much time at all now. So I would do my best to get ahead of the deliverables that I had to submit the next day. I'd say like a very tough thing is if you start a project right in the middle, or if you roll onto a project right in the middle of like a very hectic time period. That's somewhat what happened to me. I feel like I had a couple of weeks where it was good and it was slow, and then it just picked right up. So that was super tough. But now that I'm, you know, far more acclimated in this role, now that I actually understand what's going on and have some context, it's so much easier. And that's pretty much how most projects work, from what I've heard others say as well as from my own experience. That's a little bit of the day-to-day, but pretty much it's just a bunch of meetings. A lot of my job consists of note-taking, especially entry-level and in this position. On my previous project, it didn't take up that much of my role, but on this project it definitely does. But that's just like the responsibility for my specific position, and that's totally fine, because I feel like at this point it's second nature to me. It's also creating PowerPoint presentations and submitting them to the client, proofreading, communicating with cross-functional teams. Project management is very much, in my opinion, communication based, and it's just understanding the ropes of the project. So I'm not actually coding or implementing the solution, but I'm helping to oversee that process and to make sure that it goes smooth, and to make sure that everybody's doing well, and to make sure that we're successfully achieving the client's goal. Okay, so moving on, I think I just covered a lot of like what it's like to be a consultant and what the general gist of consulting is. Now on to how I got into this role, and I guess what I did in college, how I got an offer for this position. I went to Penn State University and I was a marketing major, and consulting was the last thing that I thought I would do when I first got into college. My dream job was to work for a company that was like consumer products and consumer packaged goods, like CPG companies, and I wanted to help with the branding of that. So that was what I wanted to do, and that was my main goal. I ended up joining the marketing association and going to the business career centers, like resume review, just to kind of help myself get prepared for that. I started going to the career fairs so early. Like I went freshman year just to kind of understand how the whole process worked, and you know, to maybe land myself an internship. Didn't happen, but no harm in trying. It was definitely good, and I feel like that was one of the better things that I did for myself to get ahead, was to go to like every single thing that I possibly could freshman year, just to understand like how it all worked. So that's what I did freshman year. And then sophomore year, joined the marketing association, went to get my resume reviewed, and the girl who reviewed my resume also happened to be in the marketing association, and she was working for my current company in the position that I currently am in now. She was a marketing major as well, and I was so intrigued by the fact that she was doing this job as a consultant and at a tech firm. I felt like that was so far off of what our major was, of what marketing is. I just didn't think that I would be able to do something like that, or that people within my major, I didn't think that that was a possibility. But she just pretty much told me that, you know, consulting, and this stands true to this day for me, at least from what I've seen and from what I've heard and, you know, just experience. A lot of what consulting is just being trained on the job, and that's definitely the experience that I've had. Nothing that I've personally worked on, I've had experience with prior to the role. Then after learning about the company that she was at and learning about the job, I was very interested, and I went to like every single information session that they had, all the career fairs that they were at. I would stop by them, even though they were not recruiting people who were freshman, sophomore, and then even junior year they stopped doing internships. I was like, all right, whatever. So I ended up just, you know, continuing to follow up with people. And then after being in the marketing association for a little bit of time, I ended up applying for the executive board and connected with an alum who was a part of the marketing association when she was at Penn State. And turns out that she worked for the company that I'm at now too, but I had no idea about that until like several months into being connected with her. So that was really interesting, because having two very strong connections both in a company that I was interested in, the way that those connections stayed so strong was that they weren't built upon me asking them for, you know, to put a good word in for me, or for me asking them to get me a job. It's not how you network, you know, it's through genuine interest and through asking for their guidance and for their insight, and then taking what you've learned from your mentors or from the people that you network with and going out and using their advice to do the best that you can. And then a lot of times as a byproduct of that, they end up putting in a good word for you anyway, and, you know, referring you to the company that you're interested in. So then obviously my resume as well, I was very involved in extracurricular activities, specifically the marketing association, and just did a ton with them, and ended up becoming the president my senior year and doing a ton of really cool things in that position. So that was great and an amazing opportunity. It was very, very challenging, but an amazing opportunity, and it gave me a ton to talk about while on my interview for this job right now. You don't have to be the president of your organization, you don't have to be on an executive board, you just have to show that you're capable of providing value to the company when they hire you. And a lot of that is through extracurricular activities, but you don't have to do that. You could start your own YouTube channel and show the metrics by which you're growing your channel at. That's honestly more valuable in my opinion than like a lot of the extracurricular activities that are available, but it is what you make of it, you know. So you could say that you joined an organization and only go to the meetings and really not do anything else, or you can join an organization and organize a bunch of different events and bring in a ton of money for the organization or for charity or whatever. So there's so many different ways that you can show leadership skills and just transferable skills on your resume, and have so many different things to talk about during an interview that you don't need to be the president of anything. A couple of my friends who were also in marketing with me, they were hired into the same position that I'm in currently at the same company, and they weren't the president of an organization. They just both had very great resumes and showed that they were passionate about what they do, and showed that they had a lot of transferable skills and, you know, several hard skills as well that they were able to bring to the company. And that's what's most important. They just want to see that you're really willing to learn and that you want to do your best when you're in the job, that you're flexible and you're able to adapt to new situations. And the best way to do that is by having done so already. And I can make another video actually on interviewing, because I feel like that's something that a lot of people have misconceptions on. A lot of what interviews are about is, especially at the entry level, they don't care if you don't have like hard skills, because you're going to be trained on the job anyway, and they're anticipating that. They just care that you have really great transferable skills, you're able to work in a team, and that you're able to be taught, and that you're really willing to learn and you're interested in whatever. So I just trailed off again, I'm so sorry. But anyway, so that's how I became interested in consulting, from my friend and from the alumni who had graduated and who was also in the marketing association. And so each time that I was going to a career fair, or when I had an interview for the role, I just reached out to them and asked for advice, and just asked, you know, what I guess they would recommend I focus on, and, you know, took lots of notes and then killed it at the interview. The way that I got this job was that the company I'm at now didn't have an internship for the first time when I was a junior. So instead of an internship, they had this like interview weekend where they just showed you what consulting is like at the firm, brought in a bunch of current consultants, and, you know, you were able to network. Then we had a full team case study day. So my interview process was definitely far different, as I didn't have to do like a face-to-face one-on-one case interview. It was more so working with the team and then presenting it to like partners at my company. So it was definitely nerve-wracking. By the way, we bombed the case, like we just did not do well, but it was just about how we presented the results that we found. It was a whole mess, but I mean, I guess it worked, you know. And then on the third day we had speed interviews. We had like 10-minute interviews back to back in a room with everybody else. it was a lot, but it was an interesting experience. And I mean, I ended up getting the offer and took it almost immediately. So yeah, that's kind of how I guess I received this opportunity. I really feel like I just rambled, and this video is probably going to be a nightmare to edit, but I'm not filming it again. So yes, that is a high-level overview of what consulting is like, how I got into it, and what my experience is with it. I really hope I touched upon information that at least one person was interested in. If anyone wants me to go in detail on a specific topic, let me know, because I think that might be a little bit easier for me to talk about. Thanks so much for all your feedback, guys. I really do appreciate it. I know I complained about making this video a lot, but I want to do my best to provide as much information and the best information that I can, and that just stresses me out. Thank you guys so much for watching and for being so engaged with me recently. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next video.